So I always wanted to be a journalist, and when I got to Northwestern my freshman year, my professors urged us to find a niche because the media landscape, it's very hard to find a job right now, and if we were able to find a narrow area where we could have a good skill set, that would make us more viable in the job market. So I asked myself, what issue is going to be in the headlines in my lifetime? What issue is not going to go out of the headlines? And the answer to that is climate change, the environment. Growing up in Canada, I was always surrounded by beautiful nature, landscape. I'm a very avid skier, and I love the mountains. So it's also something that I really care about. And combining those passions for natural environment and journalism, I think was a natural match for me. Last winter, I was in Washington, D.C., doing some environmental journalism for my school's Washington, D.C. program, and I attended on Capitol Hill an event called The Road to Copenhagen, and Al Gore was testifying before the Council of Foreign Relations, the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, with John Kerry officiating. He's the chairman of the committee, and the name of the session was called The Road to Copenhagen. So I thought right away, oh my God, I have to go to Copenhagen. If this is what the top policymakers are talking about, and I want to be an environmental journalist, that's where I have to be, Copenhagen. So I was just searching for ways to get there. I was thinking of applying through my school for a grant to just go on my own, but I realized the access to the negotiations would probably be difficult, so I looked for other avenues. And the Will Steger Foundation is really the way to get me access to the talks. At Northwestern, I chose the minor Environmental Policy and Culture, and I started taking classes, and last summer, I think, was the summer that opened my eyes to climate change. I spent it in the Yukon Territory in northern Canada. I won a global reporting fellowship grant to study climate change in the Yukon, but once I got there, I realized it was over my head because I didn't have the tools to study climate change, the science at least. So I asked myself, what can I cover as a journalist? What could I write about in a way that I understand it and that other people will? And the truth is, it's environmental policy. It's the politics that interests me and that I can write about. So that's when I kind of switched my focus to the politics of climate change rather than climate change as a science. So I spent the summer in Washington, D.C. working at Platts, owned by McGraw-Hill. It's trade publications that cover the energy industry. So I spent the summer writing, unfortunately, for oil companies and other energy companies who subscribe to our publications, but it really gave me a hands-on view of what the economy is surrounding energy, the energy industry. We had publications covering coal, natural gas, oil, nuclear, all of that. So I think climate technology, specifically carbon capture and sequestration, that kind of became my focal point during the summer. I wrote a lot about it. And I think capping carbon and all of that is going to be very important in Copenhagen, and just having had that experience covering new climate technologies will really be an asset to our team. It's a little specific and, could sound a little technical at times, but I think it's really important to understand the issues. I think that people are a little sick of hearing adults or scientists talk about these horrible issues that they may not even be around for, this bleak future. And it's the youth who are going to take charge of society in a few years. So we have to be the ones pushing for our own futures, because you're only going to be committed to a cause if you have a stake in it. And the youth really have a stake in it. So I think the Midwest is kind of a microcosm for the U.S.'s climate problems that it has on the table, including coal, agriculture, transportation, water issues. You really see it all in the Midwest. And it's also kind of the battlefront for the future. There's a lot of new things being tested out in the Midwest. Just in Illinois, the new CCS site, Future Gen, which Congress just allotted a lot of money to, is going to go up in rural Illinois. And Chicago's the site of the Climate Exchange, which is a new way of looking at a market-based solution for the price on carbon. So there's a lot of new ideas floating around in the Midwest. I still think there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding climate change, and as an aspiring journalist, I really want to get stories out there, true stories. There's been a lot of confusion in the media over the past 20 years of where global warming is going, and maybe we can make a difference by telling true, compelling stories now.